Yeah, we're going to start to solder all the seams that we've just re-leaded this, and it's ready to start soldering together. Okay, yeah, the flux that I like to use, and it's the catalyst that cleans both connections when you solder. And without it, of course, you can't solder very well. It won't stick to the seams, to the lead, whether it's copper plumbing that you're doing or lead. Basically, it is what you need for the solder itself to stick and to flow properly. The iron is a 100-watt iron that I like using. It's got a built-in temperature control, so it's set at an even temperature all the time. And you have a sponge here that you can wipe the tip off from time to time to get the residue off. The solder is Canfield, one of the best that I use on the market. It's 60-40. That is 60% tin, 40% lead. It flows very well with a temperature controlled iron, and it's easy to patina if that's the application you're looking for. And then I use a brush sometimes if just by time going by the lead connections will oxidize just in the normal air, and it's like I like to clean it up, shine it up before I flex it for a nice even droplet of solder. Okay, let's get started here. I'll start flexing the lower corner here, and you just start at any corner that you'd like. You have to be very careful that you don't hold your iron too long on any given spot here. It's lead, like the solder. You'll burn right through. And that's very difficult to repair that where it's not noticeable. There's an example right there that I did not flex it. It does not stick very well compared to that seam right there. The droplets that form on the glass is not a problem. That will pop right off. I don't like to get too far ahead when I'm flexing because it's a light acid that cleans the metal, and it will tarnish it. You leave it on too long, soldering is have a damp cloth, just cold water, where what you have soldered already, you want to wipe off and make sure it's cooled to wipe off that excess flux, because it is acid that cleans the metal and you want to remove it. It will tarnish it if it sits on there for a long period of time. If you're working on a large window, by the time you finish, it's going to kind of corrode or darken your lead seam or wherever it's been coated, and it's nice to get that off. So I always go over all the seams that I had soldered already to clean it up. We're here in the studio now, and I'm going to mix up this cement. It's called Inland Cement System. I like using this particular brand. I've used it for many years. It is linseed oil based, actually pure gum spirits with a boiled linseed base. And we'll drain off the excess. It's natural. You can get it in black or natural. If this was patinaed, you could use a black if you black patinaed it, but this is the natural color for natural lead. And just mix it up and add your liquid to make it consistency like cookie dough. The purpose is to cement the lead came, which holds it all together, your seams. You force it underneath the lead, on top of the glass, up inside the lead, up to the heart of the lead, which is the center. And we've already done the back side with it. And now we're going to do the front. And when we're finished, it's like cement. It will dry as hard as cement. All right. It will weatherproof the window for many years to come, and it gives it strength to the lead. Okay, I got the consistency that I want. It's thick cookie dough, pliable, very pliable, and we'll just scrape a bunch out onto the window. I like to just put a glob right in the middle, kind of move it around, and work it all in. Since we've done the back side first, it won't take as much. Most of the lead is filled and won't seep through. Just a messy job, but you just press it in and you roll it around, and it goes underneath the lead. There's a gap underneath between the glass and the bottom edge of the lead came, and you just force it under there. Both sides, all around. You don't want to put too much pressure on any center pieces of glass. It is raised off the ground. The lead is thicker than the glass. I've never cracked a piece, but so you just roll your palm around back and forth to fill all that lead. And that does it fills all that gap. The whiting is a powder that just helps promote the drying process, and I just spread it all around, just work it in. I usually lay down a bed of it onto the board, the workboard, and then pretty much go over the whole backside and then just set it right into the powder. So we'll just cover this and let it sit for 24 hours and come back and clean it up. Yeah, instead of flipping it, it's very solid right now, and what I do is just make a bed of powder of where the outline of that window was, and just so it can pretty much set in the powder. It helps the drying process. And then just kind of move it around to, that should be good. Now we're going to brush off the excess powder, the whiting powder that we sprinkled all over the lead came of this top surface of the window. I'll use a regular shop bench brush, and then also it's like a fingernail brush that works very good. It's solid bristles for getting up close to the lead came and to the glass surface. And then this little excuse me, this little tool here is just a 1/4 inch dowel that I sharpen like a pencil, and that you can get up close to the edge of that lead came, and you go around each piece, and that will peel away that excess cement or putty, and then we vacuum the whole process. Actually, we brush it away first, and then we vacuum. Then we use this tool here to get up close to the lead, and then I use the brush, and then vacuum that, and then buff it. And as you will see, it'll come out nice shiny silver and gray finish. Okay, I'll just brush this away carefully, not a lot of pressure, because the glass is off of the table. It's the lead that's holding it up. So you don't want to put too much pressure on any piece of glass, and you really don't need to. Just brushing it away. And I don't think that's pretty clean there. I won't have to vacuum it right at this point. I can use the tool now, the dowel, 1/4 inch dowel, sharpened like a pencil. From time to time you wear it down so you resharpen it and get it nice and sharp. And you just start anywhere you want. Actually, you're just going to go around the outside edge of your lead came that holds all the pieces together. and it'll come right up close to the edge there and just peel away that excess. The lead will still hold the putty underneath it. We're just trimming that excess away. You do every opening here. And not a lot of pressure. You don't want to crack the glass. I'm just moving around the outside edge and getting all the clumps out of the way there. Now we just finished using the tool here to get up close around the lead, and now the next step would be to vacuum all of that off of there, and then we'll use the brush. This will get up close to the lead, even closer than the tool, and finish it off very well. Okay, and then I'll vacuum all that dust off of there. Yeah, by cementing it, you can feel how solid the window is, whereas before we cemented it, of course, the glass was loose in the lead. Now it's a solid window. You have to be careful when you flip it over. Even the cement is still damp. It takes 72 hours at least to set up, so you really want to not pick it up just right off the table. And I like to flip it over. The bigger windows, I'll even screw 2 pieces of plywood together with blocks, the thickness of the window. Soft cloth here, just buff it lightly, clean the glass and the lead, bring out the luster of the lead and the glass. We've cemented that. We've put the whiting powder on there to dry up the moisture. We let that sit 24 hours, and then we cleaned it up with the brush, the special tool, a simple dowel with a sharp point to get up to the detail of all the points in the glass around the lead, and then we vacuumed it in between those steps, and then we buffed it out. And this is the result now of the back side, buffed and polished, and we'll flip it over and do the front of it the same way. And this window will sit for 72 hours, put it back in the wood frame, glaze it in, and reinstall it back in the chapel for the open house, January 18th, 2014. Well, we're going to put the tie wires on when we put it into the wood frame. The installation, the window is pretty much ready to be installed, but we need to put the tie wires in. There's 5 locations on the window. The original location of each wire, we're going to put them back exactly as it was. And before we took this window apart, disassembled it for the reletting process, I printed out a picture that we could use as reference as far as where those tie wires go. Just put a bend in it to embed into the solder on the seam. This is the tie wire we're going to use, nice and strong. Once that is embedded into the joint, then we'll tie it off on the bar that's incorporated into the wood frame. And then the excess, after we tie it off, will just snip off. And the bar itself is 3/8, so we want to make it about 3/8 wide, where it fits right over it then. we'll just flux different locations here. You always need the flux. We don't want to heat it up too much that we melt through. Don't drop your tool on your window. Just let it embed it right in. Add a little extra on the other side. You want to be quick, you don't want to melt in. If it don't seem to be sticking, add a little more flux. It makes it flow much better. Looks good. First one's done. And that's it. So right now I'm going to spread these out flat so they're out of the way when we put it into the wood frame, and we'll rebend them. Just like that. And we'll take it over to the other bench right now and install it. Actually, I'm going to tip it around. The top fits into a dado in the top of the frame. As you can see it right there. Flip it over here. It's up against the stop, the front here. Yeah, this temporary molding I cut, I didn't want to put in the glazing compound basically because we're in the process of the restoration with the chapel, and why take that out? So I cut these 3/8 by 1/4 inch pieces of pine. I'm going to pin nail them in temporary that we can take them out when the restoration happens this summer, and mainly because these wood frames have to be stripped and brought back to the natural state. So I've pre-cut these already. They'll just slip in. they'll be very easy to take out. And we'll pin nail them in. And we have to be very careful. You don't want to drop the tool. This is really the only way to do it, to try and put in small nails with a hammer and a nail set would be risky. If you slipped, you'd be repairing your window. And you'd want to keep it as level as possible. And there we have it. We'll flip it over now and tie off the wires, and then we're ready to install. Okay, as you can see, the rebar here is embedded into the wood frame, and it's in perfect alignment all the way across, hiding that top seam there. And we'll just bend the wires over. It fits on each side just like it should. And basically what this does is that it keeps this window straight. And even though it's not very tall, in time I've seen windows where they bow it out because the supports, the wires would break off and then the window fails. So it's a needed application. And we'll just twist them together. And it doesn't take too much here. Snip that off. Just pull it tight. And there we have it, all tied, good for another 115 years. It was a great adventure of building this window from start to finish, taking it out of the chapel, and totally doing a restoration, all new lead, cement, working with it every day. It's been a real pleasure, and many more to come. Today we're out at the chapel. It's January 17th, and we're going to remove the covering, temporary covering that we put in place when we took out the stained glass window to rebuild it. Okay, we're about to install this window here that's been totally restored, re-leaded, re-cemented, back into its proper location here on the north side of the chapel. I'll put that up there, and we'll put in the trim and all the molding. restoration project, the open house, and you can come and view the new, restored, to 115 years old, the rest of them that need to be restored. Thank you for joining us.